Hello, and welcome to our Wednesday webinar from the International Center for Sustainable Carbon. My name is Benedicta, and I'm part of the communications team here. Our monthly webinars are based on our technical reports, which are available from our website, sustainable-carbon.org. Residents of member countries and employees of sponsoring organizations can download our reports at no charge after a one-off registration at the website. Please type any questions you may have into the question box in the right side of your screen as we go along, and we'll answer them at the end of the webinar. The subject for today's webinar is International Center for Sustainable Carbon. Who are we and how our work is evolving? Presented by our General Manager, Dr. Andrew Minchner. Over to you, Andrew.
Thank you, Benedicta. Good afternoon, everyone. As you heard, I'm Andrew Minchner. I'm the General Manager of what is now the International Center for Sustainable Carbon. I'm going to take you through our rebadging process and more particularly highlight how we have expanded the scope of our activities to more appropriately reflect the international situation. For those of you that have heard me give previous webinars, you will know that I have stressed how the global energy scene is changing, and in relation to that, we continue to evolve. Well, we have evolved, in fact, to the point where we have become the International Center for Sustainable Carbon. And it's my great pleasure to share with you our journey from the ICSC to the ICSC and indeed beyond. This is a fun slide that just shows our original brand, which with a few quick movements transforms itself into the International Center for Sustainable Carbon. It's a fun slide, but it does have a serious purpose, which is to indicate that we are building on what we have done before. Hence, we've kept the same C-related brands, same typing setup, and so forth. We consider this change to be evolution, not revolution. With that in mind, who are we now and what do we do? Well, we have rebadged, as I said, the International Center for Sustainable Carbon. But I want to stress that we remain part of the technology collaboration program under the auspices of the International Energy. And you can recognize that on our major presentations and indeed on our reports, where there's the inclusion of this blue band that says Technology Collaboration Program by IEA. So we're still very much part of the IEA family. And our overall objective is to provide our members, the IEA Working Party on Fossil Energy and any other interested parties. And we want to provide them with definitive and policy relevant independent information on how various carbon-based energy sources can continue to be part of a sustainable energy mix worldwide. And what I want to stress is that, of course, we continue to be aligned very much with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And that last point is especially important as we're in the process of reviewing our values and deciding how best we can realize our vision, both of which we'll be talking to you in subsequent webinars later this year. Just a few reflections on our membership. On the left-hand side of the slide, you can see our 6 contracting party members. That's our national representatives from different countries, which comprise Australia, the European Commission, Italy, Japan, South Africa, and the USA. On the right-hand side of the slide, you have our 4 industrial sponsor members, which is Thungela Resources from South Africa, the Beijing Research Institute of Coal Chemistry, and the Electric Power Planning and Engineering Institute, both from China, and SUEC from the Russian Federation. The other point I need to stress here is that our membership has wholeheartedly endorsed the establishment of the International Center for Sustainable Carbon. They recognized with us and took the decision with us that this was the way that we needed to go forward. In recent years, I think it's fair to say that we've been broadening and we now cover a wide range of energy sources, as I've indicated, from coal to biomass to organic wastes. But at the same time, we have been increasing our assessment of the wide-ranging and fast-moving transformation of energy systems worldwide. And we recognise that the global energy system and scene is in a state of flux, and that raises both new challenges and opportunities. As indicated here, we operate within an energy and environment framework that covers a wide range of issues. I would also like to stress that we are increasingly focusing on supporting developing nations, as they are the key fossil fuel users for the future. And it's also important to note that what works for the OECD doesn't necessarily apply that well elsewhere. So our aim includes seeking to provide support for establishing reliable, low carbon, low pollutant power and industry options, such that those developing nations can develop their economies and achieve acceptable standards of living. So an important part of our work is to assess local options for future fossil use with low environmental impact. I've now got a couple of slides that set out the overall structure of our activities. So this is the first of what are actually two rather busy slides, and they together list the core of our various activities that we undertake. On this slide, you can see at the top our independent peer-reviewed studies, which we put together, distribute to our members, and then also disseminate further through our highly regarded web-based system. They're supported by the regular webinars, such as this one, and the ones we hold once a month every Wednesday, on the Wednesday. And those webinars support the published studies, and we back that up with blogs on related energy and environmental issues. We also have a complementary outreach activities, or rather we did until COVID-19 put a stop to that for a temporary point of view. But we obviously hope to start that again soon, and that will focus on sustainable energy issues, including capacity building and training related to low carbon emissions technologies. In keeping with the approach we're now adopting, their major focus will be to support developing countries and industrializing nations. This is the other half of our structure. As well as this capacity building based outreach program, we also run a series of specialist workshops, more or less several of those each year, and every other year we run a comprehensive conference to support international collaboration on various sustainable carbon based energy and non-energy options, with a focus on limiting emissions to in a cost effective manner. We should have been running one of those this year, conferences, but we're not, because of the COVID problems. And we much prefer face-to-face conferences, because it's not just all about listening to presentations. So we prefer that than the virtual ones that some organisations have adopted. That said, we hope to run one next year, around about probably late June. Location and full topics to be decided on in the near future. But we also want to run a coal and biomass workshop as a kick-off to getting back to our programme, and we hope to run that in March of next year. Location to be decided. As well as the workshops and the conference, we are continually developing our website so we can further disseminate key aspects and successes for our overall programme. And that includes our rapidly growing Knowledge Partners network, which I will refer to again later. I've got another pair of slides now. This slide and the next one, they highlight topics and subjects of particular interest to us and our membership, the people who pay the money and oversee the overall programme. I'm not going to go through these in detail, as you can look at those at your leisure on our YouTube channel, but I do want to highlight some important shifts in emphasis. We have previously looked at coal, biomass and organic waste as fuels, but increasingly we also now view them as resources. This is taking us actually in many interesting directions. especially the production of high value non-energy products. And at the same time, there's also interest in coal and other carbon source gasification linked to CCS, which can produce very low carbon end products. So food for thought there. And in terms of the other subjects, they're listed on this second slide. Energy from waste characterization and market opportunities is something that we're starting to expand upon. But the one I just want to hit on really at the moment is the second one, which is the means to gain value from the coal sector infrastructure through repurposing in regions that no longer choose to use coal. Whether we're comfortable with that or not, it's a fact of life that a number of coal mines are closing, and certain regions, particularly the European Union, are not really using coal or intend not to use very much coal in the future, as it's no longer consistent with their Green Deal approach. But the coal mines need to be looked at carefully to ensure that they don't cause safety and environmental problems. And when you look at a power plant, there's an awful lot of infrastructure there that perhaps can be used in other ways. And I'll come back to that a little bit more when I highlight a few pointers from this program. Just coming to a little bit more information on several points, as I said, and this is the first one, which is the studies program, which is continuing to evolve. On the left hand and center part of the slide, you have 6 boxes, 6 pictures underneath, which is the title of reports that are now in the public domain. 3 of which were issued in the last few months, and 3 that were issued in 2020. You can see quite a range of activities there. Yes, there's work on high efficiency, low emissions coal-fired power plants. There's work on co-firing coal with biomass. There's work on CCS, CCUS, which is a topic that we've been majoring in recent years. You also see 2 reports, one on beneficial uses of coal fly ash and one on advances in non-energy products from coal, both of which very much reflect the looking at coal as a resource. And I'll come on to that in a bit more in a moment. On the right-hand side of the slide, you see various studies which are in progress. And here you've got some very interesting titles that we're getting to grips with. Coal-fired power plants for the carbon neutral society is something that is particularly interesting, and we're looking at. Bioenergy, BECCS, bioenergy with CCS, is again going to be reviewed very shortly. Co-firing of coal with ammonia is a very interesting way of lowering carbon emissions. Making hydrogen from carbon-based materials through gasification processes and shift reactors can produce very clean hydrogen, minimal carbon emissions because they can all be captured and stored, and it can be done for a lot less money than it is for using electrolysis of water, with the power for that process being provided by variable renewable energy systems. Methanol production markets is interesting, as is more work on CCS, in this instance on business models and incentives. Sustainable carbon as a broad-based resource, not just a fuel. I've said a few things about this, and it's important. It's also interesting, I was reading just this morning that in northeastern Wyoming, they are establishing a Carbon Valley R&D hub to address the challenges of producing resources from coal rather than looking on it as a fuel. Massive amounts of coal in that region of the world, but setting themselves up to sort of produce higher grade products is a powerful way to take things forward and still ensure, that this valuable resource can be used, and with the knock-on benefits of maintaining employment in a fairly remote region. There's a lot of things you can make from coal: activated carbon, carbon fiber, and particularly like graphene, which is a very high value product, as I've shown on this slide, synthetic graphite, and so on. There's also besides making those products, you can extract critical minerals from coal ashes and related sources. All modern communication devices and many other items require the inclusion of critical minerals or elements known as rare earth elements, which, as the name suggests, are not readily available. So, but it's interesting that you can extract these from coal ash. And both that and the higher value carbon-based materials, proof of concept is there. There's small scale activities going on, and the key issue is to move this forward as quickly as possible to prove which are the really commercially promising aspects that can be taken forward. And alongside this R&D work that's going on, there's extensive market analysis and together with a review of enabling policies and regulations so that it can accelerate the global market entry of the R&D winners from these processes. Very interesting topic. A few words on geographic focus. I've probably used this slide many times, but I'll use it one more. There's no one-size-fits-all solution to the energy and environmental challenges worldwide. For example, the approaches adopted in developing countries will be different to those in OECD countries, and why wouldn't they be different? Each nation has its own priorities and its own resources. So in these situations, all options, not just variable renewable energy, are probably going to be needed, and that's going to include carbon-based systems, hopefully low carbon-based systems. This requires a far more flexible operating approach than is currently available in many developing countries, and it's not that typical for many OECD countries. So there's challenges here, and they must be addressed if stable power production is to be maintained. We're including this topic as a key topic within our capacity building and training efforts in developing regions. That's based on our understanding of the technologies, the policies, the economic issues, and the market developments. With our capacity building and training efforts in mind, I'm just going to highlight up a few projects, not particularly to take you through the projects, that's been done before, but just to pick up a few points about contacts and interactions. For example, we undertook a significant capacity building study to assist Indian stakeholders define a pathway towards meeting a 2-degree limit by 2040, which is going to be very, very challenging for India. This was financially supported by the IEA's Coal Industry Advisory Board, and a few months ago you had a very nice presentation on this, which again you can watch over again to remind yourselves on our YouTube channel. I'm not going to take you through that, therefore, but I would also stress that you can download the report for this, a very comprehensive report, by registering on our website, in which case it's free to you as soon as you've registered. What I want to highlight, as shown on the slide, is the very large number of Indian and international stakeholders with whom we had contact over the duration of the study. Communication in our business is critical, so doing projects like that, and even though it was a virtual project because of the COVID problems, we made up very good contacts with a very large range of organisations, which will stand us in good stead for the future. If I move on, this is a US Department of State project which is designed to improve efficiency and flexibility while limiting pollutant emissions from coal power plants in Indonesia and India. We have partners that are working with us, and we're both working closely with our local stakeholders to make these projects a success. In both cases, the core of our activities is training. And it's also important to recognize that this training is designed for us to reach as many people as we can in what are two very large countries. Therefore, we are also adopting the approach of training the trainers so that when we've finished our training program, which by our standards is massive, but perhaps doesn't reflect that when you look at the size of the two countries, we're also training the trainers so they can then take on further spreading and dissemination of the information to other parts of their respective countries. And this, again, the idea behind this, that there's the opportunity to establish high potential economic and environmental benefits for both nations. So there's a win-win situation available. Repurposing. I think repurposing of closed mines and power plants has to be an integral part of a sustainable energy approach worldwide. This slide picks up a couple of key points. It's a topic, for example, that's in increasing importance, especially in certain OECD regions where coal use is in decline. The reclamation of closed coal mines is becoming a critical issue, both on safety and environmental grounds. When the safety issues are addressed, there is scope to green those areas, as is shown in the central slide on the upper level and the one on the right. One is just what the mine looked like when production had been completed, and then on the right is a better picture where they've started to greenify the area, bringing back the nature of flora and indeed fauna. There's also the fact that old coal power plants are big infrastructures with a lot of services, a lot of area in most cases, and there's going to be scope to use them for a range of issues. The slide here on the top left-hand side shows an very old-fashioned power plant that's actually being used as a suite of offices now. But there's a lot of other possibilities being assessed, particularly in the EU, because of their situation where they're rapidly moving away from coal. Collaboration opportunities. We see significant added value in cooperating with other like-minded organisations, and those ones effectively that are actively seeking to encourage energy and environmental improvements with developing countries. We're expanding our collaboration through various means, as I've indicated, and we're also seeking cooperation from relevant global and regional organisations such as the UNECE, United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, UNEP, the World Bank, Asian Development Bank, United States Departments of State and Energy, and the IEA's Coal Industry Advisory Board. We're also building on our links with ASEAN nations who have suggested some low carbon opportunities for cooperation. Again, all such partnerships will be invaluable to us and the people we're cooperating with, and of course raises our respective international profiles. Now the Knowledge Partners Network. We're seeking to expand our network, and as you can see on this slide, there is a wide range of organisations from industry, institutes and academia that have signed up, as shown by their logos, because once they sign up, their logo is included on the Knowledge Partners Network part of our website. There's a very wide range of opportunities there. The important point to stress is it's free to join and free to take part in anything that we are putting forward. So if you're interested in learning more about the Knowledge Partners and hopefully would like to join, please contact me. My email address is on the next slide, if you'd like, particularly if you want additional information on the network. Some closing remarks. I picked up this truism, which I think is a very valuable statement. True cooperation is giving someone a helping hand when they need it, while also seeking to help them avoid the need for such support in the future. I think that's actually, it wasn't written with this in mind, but I think that is actually a very good way of describing a sustainable approach in the energy sector. It's a measure of sustainability. And for example, in the power sector, if you've got a fairly ropey grid system or distribution system, you'll have breakdowns and they can be fixed, which is like a sticking plaster solution. What you ultimately want to do is get support such you can actually improve the grid system or the distribution system such that these breakdowns don't occur in the first place. We think this is important, and we're going to aim to contribute to help make this statement a reality within the global energy scene. So with that in mind, I just want to reiterate that this rebadging is, we believe, very timely. It reflects the ongoing evolution into the ICSC, and we're now becoming, in part, an externally focused international capacity building program. with a intention to support developing countries to help them meet their energy-based aspirations as they seek to build their economies in a comprehensive, sustainable manner. I would also like to emphasise that we have various other initiatives related to this rebadging under preparation, and once they are sorted, we'll be telling you all about them. So if you'd like additional information, you may contact me, or please also contact my colleague, Ms. Benedicte Brox, our Communications Manager, both at the International Centre for Sustainable Carbon. That brings us to the end. My email address is there if you wish to contact me, and Benedicte's is readily available on our website. Thank you for listening, and I hope you will have participated by raising any questions. But again, if you have any thoughts beyond this, please get in touch with me or Benedicte, and we'll do our best to answer your questions. Thank you again. And if I now look to see if there's some questions. There's a question from Neil Megaham, who I've spoken to several times. It's good to see you're listening into our webinars again. Question is, are there any work done on hydrogen from coal by coking processes from different ranks of coal? The answer to that is I don't think there's been much done yet, but I do know it is one of the topics that's being looked at for the Wyoming coal park that's going to be, which I indicated earlier, is being set up and running. And they're taking a very holistic approach to things, looking at anything initially, and then narrowing down to the things that look like they will work best on a commercially acceptable manner, meeting obviously the energy and environmental standards. So thank you, Neil, for your question. We've communed many times on these sort of issues, and I look forward to talking to you again. That seems to be the only question at the moment, and now we've got another one. Thanks. Oh, that's a reply. Thanks, Andrew. A question: natural hydrogen reservoir come together sometimes with coal. Have you included it on your pathway? This is from Cesar Patinio at ecopetrol.com.co. Our pathway is still being developed on the hydrogen one. It's a big issue. You've probably seen that we've issued one very comprehensive study, and another one is just about to be released very shortly, both written by my colleague Greg Kelsall. So please have a read of those. They're good reports. And so we're aware that natural hydrogen reservoirs do occur in some coal sources. So we have included it on our pathway, but at an early stage, and it's more work that will need to be done. Comment from a Lian Zhang. Any comment on the future of coal in the carbon-constrained world? Yes, I do have many thoughts on future of coal in the carbon-constrained world. There is, as I hope I have indicated in this presentation, I think there's coal is a very valuable mineral, and coal as a resource is a particular opportunity for many aspects of taking a low-grade material and upgrading it to high-value products, which are used in all sorts of applications already. From a fuel point of view, there's scope that coal can be used and can certainly be used once carbon capture, utilization, and storage is established. And in that regard, I'm very pleased to see that the China Energy's project, albeit based on oil and gas, is going forward as a large demonstration in China. And that's going to help, I think, for taking the technology forward there. And again, in the USA, there's a large number of projects moving forward. And if you get the opportunity to listen to the ICSC webinars, which are continuing, there's a wealth of information being released in those. I have a question from Sudip Bhattacharya. Excuse me if I haven't spelled that right. Want to know about the advanced work on coal to oil production, on coal liquefaction. Is there any way for collaborative projects? The major work at the moment on coal to oil production and through liquefaction and other means is in China. if you send me your email address, I can certainly put you in touch with people who have a great involvement in those projects, and I'm sure they'll be happy to discuss options with you. Okay, thank you very much. That seems to bring us to the end of the questions. No, it doesn't. We should consider marketing hydrogen fuel from carbon. We certainly should. And I think, that is something that's going to start taking place. It's a much cheaper way of producing hydrogen. It's a low carbon form of hydrogen, so you can avoid the carbon emissions, and it's much cheaper than electrolysis of water using variable renewable energy for the power supply. Okay, I think that does bring us to the end of the questions. Back to you, Benedicta. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrew. All sounds very exciting, and all that's left for me to say is that the slides from this webinar, of course, is as always available to download from our webinar page on our website very shortly. And the next webinar from us will be on the 4th of August on long-term coal supply availability, and will be presented by Graham Chapman. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us today, and goodbye.
Great.